Hey everybody, sorry for the late video. Usually I get videos loaded a little bit earlier, but gosh, had so much work to do this morning and all the way through this afternoon. So now I'm getting to it. Um, I hope you enjoyed the Don't Ask Forever, the first reading yesterday, and I put some photos up. Um, but I'm reading some Child Bride today. As we're continuing to get through the book, we are quite a ways through it. We are on page 278, and we only have, gosh, about 90 pages left. We just so much to read. We're still reading June and Elvis. The Don't Ask Forever. It's out there in my studio garage. But I'll try to get an episode of that loaded tomorrow, and I'll try to double it up with the Joyce Boba. Okay. As we continue to read these books, if you're a little lost on where we are, what books there is, just click on Joe Sin's Rare Elvis Photos and then go to playlist and see all the different titles. When you click on the title, it's going to give you an option somewhere up there in the top left, I think, that says sort by newest or oldest. If you want to sort by oldest, the very first video of the series will be at the top. If you want to sort by newest, you just scroll down to the very bottom, and you have the bottom one down there, which is the first. Thank you to you subscribers, members, new member. Hey, Karen, I saw you joined as a member. Thank you so much. The super thanks that everybody's been leaving. Appreciate that. I try to give you all shout outs when that happens. And we are here. We're here on page 278. Okay. Larry Geller. It starts out with, and hopefully Larry's going to be on the show here pretty soon. He did say he had another about 5 weeks of being busy, and then we could talk. Larry Geller, who knew the inner depths of Elvis Presley's soul as well as anyone, understood this. Understood how Ginger was like his mother in a sense, how Deborah Paget in a sense too was the architect in a sense of supposedly all the women that Elvis was attracted to. And of course, before Deborah Paget would have been Lucy DeBarban. Well, that wasn't good. That's not a cheap book, and it just fell on the floor. Anyways, let's get to reading. Larry Geller, who knew the inner depths of Elvis Presley's soul as well as anyone, understood this. Elvis had even asked Larry, who was a licensed minister, to perform his wedding ceremony to Ginger, though Larry did not think ultimately that Elvis would go through with it. It was so new. He was infatuated with her. He went gaga. He went nuts for her, overboard. He was getting ready to die, and something in him knew it. He wanted a son. By the way, I just wrote a song that I'm going to be putting on the channel recently. That's kind of like that. Talks about Elvis knowing he was not long for this world. It's funny that I'm reading this book and that paragraph, and that's my newest song. He wanted a son, said Larry Geller. He was waking up to the fact that he was becoming a redundancy. He was highly desirous to be known as an actor, and he said, "It's my only regret, Larry." Marrying Ginger to Elvis was the magic pill, like waving a wand and erasing the regret of his past. He had long since given up the physical intimacy for about a year and a half, according to Larry, although Kathy Westmoreland claimed that she did become intimate with Elvis shortly before his death. "I know for a fact that he didn't," refuted Larry, "for absolute fact. I was with Elvis every night when he went to bed. He told me everything. He had such health issues," Larry said, that part of him wasn't really working, the health issues. He never even consummated his relationship with Ginger. He couldn't. And he didn't want to in a certain way also. That is something right there that is a kind of a new piece of information that I had never heard. And I know you probably haven't. I don't know if it's anywhere. Maybe it's in Larry's book. And I'm sorry for yawning. I think reading does that to all of us sometimes. And hopefully, if you're listening to me at night, you're getting ready to go to sleep, and this is going to put you to sleep. Joe Sin's Rare Elvis Photos, Putting You to Sleep. That's it. That's the new channel name. I'm just kidding. But it makes sense for two reasons. Health issues. When you have health issues, you don't feel good. And we all know, in order to have a good, healthy relationship like that, the sexual relationship, you got to feel good for the most part. You got to be healthy. If you don't, then you got the psychological aspect of it. You know, a lot of people are psychological about the intimacy. And if they're not there too, because they feel bad about themselves, they feel bad about their health, they feel bad about their relationship, where they're at in life, where they're going, that's another thing that messes things up. So, I don't disbelieve this, what Larry says. Elvis and Larry had many deep conversations those last days, occasionally drifting to the subject of Priscilla. He had changed his mind, he told Larry, in thinking that they were actually soulmates. He still believed there was some sort of karmic link between them, but it had taken on a different meaning in Elvis's mind. It took me a long time to realize she's not my soulmate, he had told Larry during his last few months. He told Larry that Priscilla had came into his life for two major reasons. One, so we could have Lisa, and number two, so I could teach her. Priscilla came to learn a lot of lessons about life, almost like I raised her, Larry recalled Elvis saying. I had to push her out of the nest so she could fly with her own wings, and I'm only sorry I didn't push her out of the bird's nest when I should have, which would have been, I don't know, the day after I met her. Elvis himself realized at the end that the paternal, as opposed to the carnal or erotic connection he had with Priscilla, was really the true reason why she was in his life, perhaps. Now, also, Elvis could have been trying to reason in his mind to another man. Even though Larry wasn't a macho man, I don't think Elvis had to worry about being macho about it. But sometimes you tell yourself the lie, so it doesn't hurt as bad. And I think Elvis was trying to understand. I think he truly felt like everybody that was in his life had a meaning, a special purpose. And that's not always the case either. If you think about it, if there's a karmic link somewhere, everywhere, look at Charles Manson and his people. There was a karmic link to Jay Sebring, you know, the hairstylist that was Larry's friend that was there the night. And I can't remember her name, the blonde actress. I mean, I know who she is, but what happened there? Clearly there was a karmic link there. Not a good one, though. So sometimes that karmic link is something you need to get the heck away from, you know, if you can. What is her name? I know you're going to tell me in the comments. It came to my brain. Sharon Tate. But you probably beat me. Probably beat me to it. Priscilla was herself confronting the psychological aspects of her intense relationship with Elvis. With Elvis that spring, in the person of Kirk Kerkorian. Kerkorian, the rich, much older, immensely powerful, secretive, and married owner of airlines, casinos, movie studios, and the International Hotel where Elvis first performed in Vegas, had noticed Priscilla during Elvis's premiere engagement at the hotel, but had waited for their estrangement to make his move. Well, he and Priscilla began a clandestine affair in 1977, spending time on Kikorian's yacht in St. Tropez, traveling to Europe on his private plane until Priscilla began to panic. It scared me, that relationship, she admitted. It could have been a nice relationship. It was just too soon. Elvis was still alive at that time, and it was too close to what I just got out of. It was also too close to Elvis, in a sense. And it was clandestine and secret because why? Oh my goodness, let's see why, Priscilla. Kirk was married. You love to break up marriages. She loved it. She obviously had to have loved it. You got Mike Stone. You got the dance teacher. You got Kirk Kerkorian. I don't know who else, but there's a pattern. Priscilla cooled the relationship with Kirk Kerkorian, which was conducted in such secrecy that Joe Esposito knew nothing about it at the time and later expressed doubt that it even happened. He was certain that Priscilla could not have been involved with Kerkorian without his knowing it. Joe's a dope. He's a dummy. I mean, I say that with kind of fondness and in kind of a joking way, but Joe, he must have had a major crush on Priscilla. A lot of people say he did. A lot of fans say he did. He didn't want to believe certain things about her that we know are true. Huh. Well, let's keep reading. See what else we find out. We're learning together here. All right. Maureen Donaldson, a photographer who was dating Cary Grant at the time, remembered flying to London with Cary, Kirk, and Priscilla on Kerkorian's private plane that June. She and Priscilla, Maureen would say, stayed up all night, drinking Chateau Lafite and comparing notes on life in the shadows of a superstar, as Kerkorian and Grant slept. Priscilla, who had never been to London before, took the opportunity to quiz Maureen thoroughly on where to shop. Maureen regarded Priscilla as fragile at the thought of becoming involved romantically with another high-powered man. Priscilla instead opted for a friendship with Kerkorian, which she took advantage of by questioning him about his business dealings, soaking up the information like a sponge. That summer, she signed with the William Morris Talent Agency. She was clearly anxious to be in another relationship, of course, having been essentially solo for several months, as proven by her romance that spring with her hairdresser, Elie Ezurzer. Elie, a shaggy-haired blonde French Moroccan from Israel, who ran a trendy salon, was closer to the smooth Warren Beatty character in Shampoo than to the stereotypical male hairdresser. He had in fact patterned himself after Vidal Sassoon and was very sophisticated and masculine. It doesn't sound very masculine if you talk like that. According to the discerning Phyllis Mann, Joan Quinn, a Beverly Hills attorney wife who ran in those circles, considered Elie very macho and remembered him doing Elvis Presley impersonations at parties, down to the black leather costume before he met Priscilla. Another Elvis wannabe. She likes the Elvis wannabes and the married guys. I mean, I know that sounds harsh. Especially, I see some people that are unsubscribing from me during these Priscilla books. I mean, you got to choose to believe or not. And I guess some people choose not to believe. It was Joan's impression, however, that Elie was just this absolute total user of her. He wanted to be Elvis Presley. He wanted to sing. Everybody always said the only reason he was interested in her was that he always had this preoccupation with Elvis. The connection was doubly ironic, for Ellie fit the pattern of nearly every male Priscilla had pursued since she was 8. Dang. Suzanne Finstead taking a load. Only now, she had been the object of identification for those who were interested in Elvis. That's true. Priscilla found Ellie appealingly flamboyant. What drew her to him, she said, was that he was French. I was attracted to Ellie because he was unique too. I found Ellie fascinating. He was a very emotional person. He was very French, captivating, different. Priscilla had embarked upon her European period, and Ellie was her bridge to the old world, a live-in tutor in matters of taste and style, her self-improvement project. Phyllis Mann, who considered Priscilla and her mother completely bereft of breeding. This Phyllis Mann sounds like a head trip as well, just a head case, full of herself. Although, I mean, maybe she's right. Maybe Priscilla and the mother were bereft of breeding. She credited Ellie with instilling in Priscilla whatever sophistication she had acquired by the age of 32 when they parted. As part of her French phase, Priscilla decided to transfer Lisa from the John Dye School the next fall to the Lycée Français, a prestigious academy in West LA where classes were taught in French. She asked Elvis if she and Ellie could borrow his private plane to fly to Europe that summer, a request that annoyed him, according to Ginger. Oh my goodness, Priscilla, you entitled little hooch. Let me borrow your plane, the Lisa Marie, so me and my boy toy can fly to Europe. Wow. One of Priscilla's last visits with Elvis at Graceland occurred in April, which is much different than she said. When he was just home from his latest hospital stay, and she stopped by to fetch Lisa, not to check on Elvis. Marion Cock, Elvis's favorite nurse from Baptist Memorial, was at the mansion and remembered Priscilla sweeping in, dressed like one of the characters from Dr. Zhivago, looking like a star. Marion could sense the connection between her and Elvis. You could tell by the way that they treated and looked at each other that it was a life experience. Elvis and Rick Stanley watched their last movie together that month, a television movie about the life of Howard Hughes, starring Tommy Lee Jones, dramatizing the billionaire's fall from grace. As Jones playing Hughes descended further into paranoia and delusion, he secreted inside darkened hotel suites. I'd look over at Elvis, recalled Ricky, and he'd look over at me like, this is familiar. And he kind of just laughed. The movie and Howard Hughes' tragic demise had an effect on him, said Ricky. Elvis worried that his life might end as Howard's had. It made him start thinking and examining. Sometimes, when you're used to a lifestyle like Elvis has, you're confronted with certain truths. Sometimes it's hard to act on them because there's so much stuff that you just have to get rid of. Like all the people he was going to get rid of. That Lucy talked about. And others had said that he was going to clean house. David Stanley. Rick's brother would later tell the story about driving Elvis to Priscilla's house on Summit that final summer, declaring that Elvis disappeared into a room with Priscilla and emerged a short while later saying, everything's all right now, as if he'd made some sort of final farewell. Mike Edwards, who would soon become Priscilla's next boyfriend, recalled Priscilla telling him about the same visit, and this is what he said. She told me the last time she really saw Elvis, he came by her house on Summit. And he was sort of asking her if they couldn't maybe see each other again. And she had moved on. She had someone else up in her bedroom. I think it was Ali. And Ali didn't come down, and she said, "No, Elvis, I can't." And I think maybe Elvis was coming by to be romantic or something. It was early in the morning. He'd been recording all night long, and she said his hair was all greasy, and he had on this jumpsuit. And she looked at him, and I think at that point, that was when she decided it was definitely over. Now, these are stories according to Mike Edwards. And then David drove Elvis over there. But with him coming out saying everything's all right now, I mean, you wouldn't think that he would have approached Priscilla about wanting to get back together and come out fine. You would think that maybe he had to talk about Lisa or something. So I don't know. I think that Priscilla likes to say things and manipulate and use people. "This is the thing that upset me more than anything about Priscilla," responded Shirley Dew, Joe Esposito's girlfriend, who was among, pardon me there, that's rude, who was among the group with Elvis that night. "It may seem small, but to me it was heartfelt. That's not how it happened at all. What happened was that Elvis had bought a Ferrari and he wanted to take it to show Lisa. So we were in the car, and I can't remember who was in the car, but I remember we pulled up to the Summit house and Lisa was in bed or something. And as I recall, Priscilla got out of her bed. We had just been to Vail and we'd been snowmobiling, and Elvis had been taking a liking to these overalls that zipped up the front to keep you warm. And if it was cold, and he was wearing a snowmobile suit, that's why he was wearing it. Not an Elvis on stage suit. He was talking and being very gentlemanly, and she kept turning her head, laughing at him, and making fun of what he was wearing. I was tolerant of her, but I found it very offensive. He was seriously talking, and she was turning her head, laughing and mocking him, and it just irked me that she was laughing behind his back. She would turn to the side where he couldn't see her laugh and make fun of him. I felt sorry and so embarrassed for him." That's the Priscilla. That's probably the real, true Priscilla that we all know who she is. And the Priscilla fans have no clue. Or they don't want to believe it. One person says something, there's a good chance it's true. Or decent chance. Let's say okay chance. If a lot of people say it, then it's got to be true. Sometimes in a court case, all it takes is one witness, right? Not let alone all these other witnesses. In the the court case of Elvis fans versus Priscilla, she's guilty because there's so much evidence. Elvis's spirit continued to flag during the rest of the summer. He and Larry Geller stood outside on his balcony at the Hilton late one night, gazing at the lights of Vegas. And Elvis pondered aloud whether he would ever know if any woman ever really loved him for himself, that he might die without being in a true love relationship. Larry answered him by saying that he already had that with his fans. They loved him unconditionally. And he thought about it, recalled Larry, and then said, "Yeah, man, you're right. That's my destiny. That's my destiny," is what he said. By August, he was deeply despondent over the imminent publication of an expose of his unusual lifestyle written by three aides whom he'd let go the previous year, Red and Sonny West and Dave Hebler. Larry Geller likened the book to a crucifixion, and Patty Perry said simply, "It broke his heart." Priscilla, meanwhile, was busy making plans to go on a safari in New Guinea with Ali, and sent Lisa off to spend a few days with Elvis at Graceland while she went to La Costa to lose 5 pounds. The type of woman this Priscilla is just, I would find no use for her. I don't care how good looking you are, and some people think she's very good looking and some people don't, but I don't care how good looking you are. How I measure somebody, is if they're kind, if they're loving, if they are selfless, if they are sharing, if they love children, if they, and it just doesn't seem like Priscilla cared about anything besides herself. Elvis spent his last few days with the daughter he loved, renting Liberty Land Amusement Park in Memphis, trying to obtain a copy. Well, I bit my tongue. That's why it's hard for me to talk right now. Bit it like last night. You know the feeling. He spent the last few days with his daughter that he loved, renting Liberty Land Amusement Park in Memphis, trying to obtain a copy of Star Wars, which had not yet been released, and he died the day that Lisa was due to fly home. August 16th, the date of his mother's funeral 20 years earlier. He had ingested a pharmacy of prescription medications, is what this book says. We know that he didn't overdose on anything, according to the medical records, even the later autopsies. He just had just the right amount that he needed. The official cause of death was stated to be heart disease, later contested as a overdose. But in truth, Elvis perished of a broken heart. He was, as he had predicted, 42 years old. Ginger Alden discovered Elvis sadly. These are the kind of things that they don't. His body. In the bathroom, on or near a chair, still holding a still open book about Jesus, which Larry Geller had just given to him a few hours earlier. Priscilla had returned from La Costa and was at the hairdresser in Beverly Hills when Elvis died. Her sister Michelle picked up around noon, saying that Joe had called from Memphis with an urgent message for her. Once she arrived home, Joe Esposito delivered the news of Elvis's death to her over the phone. She was just dumbfounded at first, he said. Nothing but silence. She put the phone down and I could hear her crying in the background saying, "Oh no, I can't believe it." Now, this was coming from Joe Esposito, the one that had a huge crush on Priscilla, that couldn't believe that she would have an affair with a dance instructor, that wouldn't believe that, all the stuff that we wouldn't believe that she even dated Kirk Kerkorian. So I don't know. This is also the same guy that said Elvis was laying on the bed, not in the bathroom. And perhaps the same guy that said that there might have been notes that Elvis wrote that meant that it was intentional. What can you believe from Joe? A lot of people call him Lion Joe. And a lot of people call Priscilla Lion Scylla. Prissy Pants. I don't know. Was she crying? Or was she thinking, oh, I'm going to have a bunch of money? I mean, I suppose even the people that are not the greatest, nicest people, they can certainly cry over somebody passing away, especially having a connection. So let's continue on. The first person Lisa telephoned from Grayson, it was said, was Linda Thompson, not Priscilla. Though Ginger maintained that it was not Lisa who called Linda, but Linda's brother Sam who put Lisa on the phone. Once again, that wouldn't matter too much because Lisa might have said, I want to talk to Linda. Let me call Linda. Wouldn't matter. There would later be an almost competition with the Elvis ranks as to which of the women in his life responded with his sincerest expression of grief. The winner in the opinion of Shirley Dew, Joe's girlfriend, who called all but Priscilla with the news, was Anne Margaret. Shirley telephoned Anne at the Las Vegas Hilton, where she was staying, to inform her of Elvis's death before it made the news. Anne's husband, Roger Smith, answered the phone. Before Shirley said anything, I heard her gasp. And she knew exactly. It was weird. And she grabbed the phone, and then Roger grabbed the phone, and I said, how did she know? And he said, she just felt it. She had to have known something, because Elvis always sent a bouquet of flowers before opening night, or closing night, I can't remember what it was, and they didn't arrive. Joe sent Elvis's private plane, the Lisa Marie, from Memphis to L.A. to pick up Priscilla, her parents, Jerry Schilling, Ed Parker, Linda Thompson, and a few others that day. They were notified by phone via Shirley as to when to expect the jet to transport them to Memphis. While the plane was en route to California, Priscilla telephoned Joe to instruct Shirley to call everyone back except the bobbleheads, and tell them that they would have to take a commercial flight. The B, what's that word? B. I can't say it, but I want to say it. Oh, entitled. Let's just call her entitled. Priscilla later told Linda that Elvis's jet was for wives, not girlfriends. Shirley Dew was convinced that Priscilla assumed control that day in the mistaken belief that Elvis had left the plane and everything else to her in his will. Shirley knew otherwise, for she had just delivered a copy of the new will to Elvis the previous March, unbeknownst to Priscilla. Elvis reportedly had revised his earlier will at Vernon's urging to disinherit Priscilla, whom Elvis had planned to remove as a beneficiary since 1973 when they divorced. The revised will was cloaked in controversy due to the fact that it was dated March 3rd, 1976 instead of 1977 when it was signed, and because Elvis had not initialed every page, the custom with legal documents. Shirley and others were of the opinion that Elvis never read the will before he signed it, for it effectively left everything to Lisa, and he had long said that he would include the entourage. Well, we know who would have done that. It would have been Vernon, right? Elvis, being the loving, generous person that he was, he would have left a lot. He would have left stuff to Billy. He would have left stuff to some of the others. But a lot of the entourage was gone, right? The new entourage was made up of Ricky and David Stanley. Billy was not there because he was making I'm sorry, folks. Making his own living. He didn't want to live off Elvis. That's what I love talking to Billy about. He didn't want to live, there were some other extenuating circumstances too, but Billy wanted to be a brother, not an employee. Hope you forgive me for my moments of heartburn. While I continue, there's just, we're going to go to the end of this chapter, okay? As we talk about it and dissect it. Shirley, who flew to L.A. on the Lisa Marie that day, claimed that Priscilla asserted her authority from the moment she stepped on board, though Carol Botillier, the stewardess, did not observe it. Okay. When she got on the plane, recalled Shirley, she said, "I guess I have the say-so around here. It's my plane now." I was upset anyway because Elvis had died. Priscilla acted like nothing had happened. Her chief concern, according to Shirley, was that she be awakened an hour before the plane landed so she could freshen her makeup in case there were photographers waiting to take her famous little mug picture. And I thought, you're thinking about your makeup? And that's when I started to dislike her. The anti-Priscilla sentiment began to mount within Elvis's funeral, which occurred on August 18th, the same day as his divorce from Priscilla, and would continue thenceforth. Priscilla said later that she and Lisa cried together in Elvis's bedroom that day, each choosing a memento of his to take with her. Those who attended the funeral never witnessed Priscilla shed one single tear, not even a crocodile one. You couldn't get him to come out. One of the guests confided that he saw and heard her afterwards with her sister, Michelle, upstairs at Graceland, giggling. She was wearing sunglasses, and she said, "Everybody thinks I'm crying behind these sunglasses. They don't know that I'm really laughing." Shirley Dew compared her that day to a queen bee. With Elvis Presley's death, Priscilla had at last resumed her childhood position as the center of attention, where she has maintained herself, has she not? She has used Elvis to give herself a life. Oh boy. Well, everybody thinks that I'm crying behind these sunglasses, but I'm laughing. Like she was laughing, making fun of Elvis. Basically in front of his face. When you're tied to somebody because of a child, for the most part, you've got no choice but to try to make it work out as good as possible. Even if it's not healthy, even if it's not good. I know this for a fact myself with one of my older sons. His mother, very negative, made it very difficult for my wife and I. But we took the high road 100% of the time, and it worked out for us because we have a great relationship with my son. My son sees it. He thanks us for how well we did. But boy, and Priscilla is very much entitled like my one of my older son's mothers was. So I know a little bit of the feeling. But Elvis, man, I mean, he didn't deserve that. But he also made the wrong choice, didn't he? We know that he made the wrong choice. Forced or not, right? Anyhow, TCB TLC, this is Joe Sends Rarest Photos. I got to get back out to work, but I wanted to take part of my lunch break to read y'all. I appreciate you, and thank you so much for the comments. And yeah, be well. Please be well. Take care of yourselves. Take care of your health and your spiritual self and your mental, emotional self. Until next time.
Lisa was the sweetest girl. Her daddy loved her so. Prissy took her to L.A., replaced Elvis with Mike Stone. Then she ran out of cash and sued the king of rock and roll. Made him sell his royalties and play show after show. She put Elvis in an early grave, then laughed upstairs at Graceland. At least that's what a witness said, when Prissy should have saved him. Instead she drank poor Elvis and took Lisa Marie away. Elvis fans, they don't forgive her to this very day. Prissy B should lose the Presley name. Now that Lisa's gone, she left us with her book, telling us all that Prissy B and Michael Edwards took. Took her joy and took her dreams, took her innocence away. And Prissy has the nerve to still get up on stage. She put Elvis in an early grave, then laughed upstairs at Graceland. At least that's what a witness said, when Prissy should have saved him. Instead she drank poor Elvis and took Lisa Marie away. Elvis fans, they don't forgive her to this very day. Prissy B should lose the Presley name. Now that Lisa's gone, she left us with her book, telling us all that Prissy B and Michael Edwards took. Took her joy and took her dreams, took her innocence away. And Prissy has the nerve to still get up on stage. She put Elvis in an early grave, then laughed upstairs at Graceland. At least that's what a witness said, when Prissy should have saved him. Instead she drank poor Elvis and took Lisa Marie away. Elvis fans, they don't forgive her to this very day. Prissy B should lose the Presley name. Prissy B should lose the Presley name.
I know I promised you that I'd be putting that on iTunes at some point in time. It's still in the works. I just, you see me, I'm working 24 hours a day. It feels like 7 days a week, and I just have not had the time to get the numbers that are needed to put that in there. And Anyways, it'll be on there eventually, but I wanted to share it with you because it's kind of appropriate to this chapter in Child Bride. This is Joe Sinsbury with Photos TCB TLC. Till next time.